of the parts that are associated with the Orion capsule. That includes the hatch that blew when the parachutes opened. They will look for the parachutes. They call it the Sasquatch team because all of this is hard to find. So they will pull up.
I'm glad that NASA has a sense of humor.
I know, it is
nice.
They will pull up the John P. Murtha on the port side of the John P. Murtha, the left side, for those not nautically inclined, to grab the parachutes that were deployed. Remember, the main chutes were collectively the size of a football field, and now we're seeing the MH-60 SEAHAWK helicopter here.
Let's just listen to the sound, the power of this helicopter. Let's just listen to this now sound.
Oh, come on.
Second helicopter. We will not be seeing them come out, I'm told. Again, we don't control these images. This is NASA's operation. I'm told, though, that we will not be seeing them come out, but let's just see what we see. Both helicopters have landed. All the astronauts are aboard those two helicopters, if I'm not mistaken.
Again, the mission audio loops.
Obviously much easier to pick out the astronauts on board these helicopters because they're the ones wearing the bright orange pressure suits. Everyone else is wearing military green olive flight suits.
I was wrong. So each helicopter.
The other, one of our imagery helicopters.
So this was one of the camera ships.
Oh, two in each. I was right. Okay, so this is an imagery team coming in. They were helping get the images, the pictures.
Set amid a gorgeous, soon-to-be sunset here in the Pacific Ocean.
Look at that shot.
You can see the cutaway of the John P. Murtha there. It's called a well deck ship. So it has the flat deck on the back for helicopter landings. But it also has essentially a big mouth at the bottom of it. And that will be used to recover the Orion capsule, recover integrity as it is essentially lashed to the ship and pulled in. And there lies a ton of forensic evidence for NASA engineers at NASA facilities across the country to look at what went well and what did not go well, especially when it comes to this reentry, because there was so much intrigue about how the ablative heat shield, the abcoat material, would hold up to the atmosphere. So under this deck that you're seeing live, where these three SEAHAWK helicopters have just landed, that is where the capsule will be recovered here in a matter of hours. So the recovery of the humans on board, the recovery of the crew has sort of reached the end of its first stage, but the recovery of parts and pieces and the capsule itself is about to just begin.
If I can add to that, returning from the moon has twice the kinetic energy as you would just coming out of orbit. So you would need that much more heat shield relative to anybody returning from orbit. So that I can fully see why we'd be giving extra attention, because we haven't come back from the moon in 60 years.
And especially since the 100 or so chunks that broke off of the heat shield during Artemis I, the uncrewed mission, essentially paving the way for this mission of the whole system itself. We're seeing the Navy crew there on the deck, essentially tying down the helicopter, chalking it, preparing for unloading here. There are a couple shots here. You can see the pilots there in the front. This is, it seems, very 20th century that we are still doing this recovery via helicopter. This is what NASA was doing in the ocean during the Mercury missions, the first missions that took us
it is very retro.
Yeah, and so, you know, not much, like Miles said, what's old is new again. Not much has changed in a way. You know, the helicopters have changed, the boats have changed, the people have changed, some of the technology has changed. But the Artemis missions are using a lot of off-the-shelf shuttle parts, even the solid rocket boosters, which Jeanette and I were talking about, makes such the quintessential sound during the launch of the air being ripped in two. They are incredibly powerful, in total 8.8 million pounds of thrust. That comes from the shuttle. And so we have taken some steps forward, but maybe not as many steps forward as one would expect in 2026.
It's nice. There's nothing AI about this. It's
That's very true. Yeah, it is very manual.
gas-powered helicopters, winching people out of the water, fluids and all.
It's kind of interesting. The water recovery is the shuttle for all those years landing on a runway. Now we're back to that. We did for
Well, we could land on ground the way the Russians did.
Yep, right.
Look how that went for them.
The Starliner does that. The Starliner comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could do that.
Let's hear what they're saying.
We're seeing some of our views. A very packed crowd overhead. Announcements being made over the ship's loudspeaker system, reminding folks to stay clear of operational areas like the flight deck, so that teams can work quickly to get the crew off of the helicopters and into the medical bay.
We are just past the top of the hour. To anybody who was just joining, a bit less than 2 hours since the spacecraft Integrity brought the Artemis II astronauts back from their 700,000-mile trip around the moon and back. In just the last few moments, the 4 astronauts hoisted from a small raft near the capsule, taken to a recovery ship nearby. They've just arrived on deck. In the moments ahead, they will continue to be checked out medically. They're still in those 2 helicopters before they'll be flown to shore in San Diego. In Houston, we've been seeing celebrations at Mission Control. Joining me is former astronaut Dr. Danny Olivas. Danny, I understand you helped troubleshoot the issues on the heat shield on Artemis I. You've got to be relieved, excited to see this crew back safe, and obviously the shields will be examined closely, but it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. My hat's off to the entire heat shield Tiger team. They did a phenomenal job. They really got to the bottom of what happened with Artemis I. And, I was listening to previous guests, Garrett and Leland are my classmates. So I got a lot of respect for them, and as well as everyone else on the panel. But,
Did Leland call you when he was locked in that room? Because apparently you didn't help him get out. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. He didn't help me out either. So there you go.
Okay.
But no, they did a phenomenal job of analyzing the Artemis I heat shield. They were able to make some predictions. We built a new facility actually at Ames Research Center, an ArcJet facility, which simulated more the trajectory of Artemis I, which we did not have prior to Artemis I. And so the data that actually came off of Artemis II is going to be vital to helping further qualify the Ames ArcJet facility in doing more and more of the characterizations for lunar entry. There's so much data. I mean, I can only wait to see the engineering coming back because this thing is going to be picked over with a fine-tooth comb by all the engineers and scientists. They'll be looking at the hardware performance. They'll be looking at things that worked well, things that didn't work well, what needs to be improved for the future, and ultimately getting ready for the next steps, which would be any flights between now and Artemis III or Artemis 3, 4, 5, and the subsequent Artemis missions as we move towards colonizing the moon.
It's incredible. Let's just listen to him for a second.
And mission specialist Christina Cook, sitting on the edge of one of the helicopters, looking in great spirits. That familiar smile and laugh from Victor, I can see it from here. Christina, I'm sure, feeling the same way, just blocked a little bit by our camera here, but we'll see her here shortly. A photographer taking their pictures.
That is Victor Glover.
Saluting folks on the flight deck. They look like they're in great spirits. Happy to be home, I'm sure.
Mike, you got an email from Victor. Was it today?
I did, yeah, this morning, entry day.
How does he have time sending you emails?
I don't know.
Okay,
It's not
what
easy.
did he
It's
say?
never on
What did he
It's like
say?
a tablet.
Can you
So he said a few things, but he did say tell the world, so I feel comfortable telling you this part of it. He said tell the world to keep this energy going. Let's invest in togetherness. And that just came off the top of his head while he had other things on his mind.
That's
what do you
awesome.
think of that?
I like
very
it.
poetic.
Invest in togetherness. I'm up for that.
By the way, when you go into space and see Earth from afar,
This is the best image we have seen so far up close of any of these astronauts. Again, we don't control these images. These are coming to us.
Oh, there we see Christina there, also smiling, finally peering out, waving at the cameras. Hello to you too, Christina, yes. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home.
Welcome home, indeed.
A loudspeaker announcement on the ship saying, welcome home, integrity. Victor in great spirits. I can't see who he's talking to, but I kind of think that he might be talking to his other two crew members. Shouting from across the flight deck, congratulations to one another.
Pilots there of Helicopter Sea Combat Squadron 23 who carried out this recovery. They've done a very good job of...
We'll talk to anybody. Very friendly guy. Right?
Very friendly guy.
Yeah, he's just totally awesome.
See
Yeah.
some Navy personnel walking up to the helicopter. This is again the first helicopter carrying pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook. Both have taken off their helmets now. Some pictures, video, to catalog this historic moment. A beautiful sunset just behind them here in the Pacific Ocean. Golden hour. These pictures will be beautiful.
I think they timed it for the sunset.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. I understand this.
It's California. They got this figured out.
This is the NASA administrator crossing over the flight deck to shake hands with them.
To Victor and Christina first, we saw the administrator walk over to the other helicopter, which is carrying Commander Reed Weissman and mission specialist Jeremy Hansen. We heard from Rick earlier the broadcast. Again, he said he's going to be out there on the flight deck to do another initial assessment of the crew, ask them how they're feeling. Anything bothering them. But again, from what I'm seeing, they look like they're in great spirits and feeling pretty good for folks who just traveled 695,000 miles from Florida to the moon and now here to the Pacific Ocean.
Also want to point out we're expecting to hear from NASA, a news conference at Johnson Space Center within the hour. Mike, what do you think would surprise people about being an astronaut?
I think it's the human element of it. You get to see wonderful things and experience
We're now seeing
a lot of interesting things in your job, but it's the closeness of the crews. And you mentioned earlier the Mission Control Center. They're all really invested in the safety of that crew, and that's I think what you saw in that party was the relief that they got them back because they all feel responsible. But I think it's that's the best thing about being an astronaut was the relationships you had, the friendships you had, the way the love you had for each other and for serving something greater than yourself together. And that was, I think, even better than flying in space for me. Was those relationships that we had.
It seems like he is standing, actually, Jeanette. He's
today.
Well,
Jeanette, what do you think?
It does look like he's standing, which, you know, some people can do that when they come back, but he's also got people around him making sure he doesn't, like, fall over.
Well, they're about to walk. Let's watch this. Let's watch.
Walking, waving across the flight deck, now on his way to the medical bay. It's a short walk, less than a minute. Again, that's why the recovery team decided to use helicopters to get them on the flight deck. for that short walk to medical bay. And now on the flight deck, we see the chief of the astronaut office, Scott Tingle. Rick Shuring switching places. He's going over to the other helicopter. Big hugs from Victor, Christina.
By the way, right now we're near solar maximum, so the total radiative flux and particle
Again,
flux of the
gorgeous
sun
sunset.
is at
Setting
an
the
11-year
stage.
high. So
Artemis
that's got to be
Recovery
part of
test.
what this medical understanding is in terms of their exposure to the radiation in their 10 days going around the moon without the protection of Earth's magnetic blanket.
I literally don't know what
Right.
you're saying.
He's saying they got zapped.
I am not.
Okay.
I am not smart enough to understand
The
what.
sun goes through cycles.
Look, she's walking right now.
Yeah.
She's looking great.
You can see she's looking up again. Lots of people, just a few levels up off the flight deck, welcoming her
So the
home.
people around her are probably just there for safety, just in case.
I am really wishing I paid more attention to Malcolm
Scott
Thompson's
holding the door like a
astronomy
gentleman,
classes
but back
right now
on his way.
in high school.
The other
Oh,
crew still on the
shout
flight
out.
deck.
May he rest in peace. He was a great teacher.
So one thing are my classmates, and it does my heart very good to see Jeremy fly. This was his first mission, and he's just an amazing human being. So this-
What a first mission. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, right.
incredible.
worth the wait.
Wait, was he the oldest one ever to leave low Earth orbit?
Will be the next one.
No.
More hugs.
I believe it might have been Don Pettit.
Oh, to leave.
No, to leave,
Oh, gosh.
to leave low Earth orbit.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you might be right.
I want to bring in. I also want to.
You might be
Let's just watch him walk across. Look, he's
Now,
unaided.
administrator
He's walking
applauses,
across the flight deck.
applauding.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
With an empty
Victor
wheelchair.
applauding?
Is that
For all the folks
that's
It's
Wow.
just for safety, yeah.
Ship with him.
You just want to make sure they're safe.
Played a role in their
It's
safe
kind of like what it was with the
return
shuttle,
today.
the same duration, more or less.
I want to bring in former NASA astronaut, veteran Navy SEAL Chris Cassidy. He knows all 4 of the Artemis II crew members. Chris, thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts seeing your friends walking on their own? Incredible.
It is incredible. I know a lot of pride watching kind of 2 facets of my life. The United States Navy combining with NASA, seeing the 4 of our friends walking with the smiles and the pep in their step, knowing that what they just did for the world and for mankind. And Anderson, you have almost as much bravery by putting Leland and Garrett and Massimino on the show together.
And this is the commander now walking.
There goes Reed, the last one to leave.
On the level.
What's he like?
Reed's amazing. All 4